The space station called Crimson Lattice floated at the edge of known space like a metal spider hanging in darkness. Ships came and went at all hours. Traders, criminals, refugees, and hunters all mixed together in its halls. The station had no laws except one: money talked, and everything was for sale. Walked through the crowded market street with her head down. She wore simple clothes, brown and gray, the kind that traders wore when they did not want attention. Her black hair was tied back tight. Her face showed nothing. She looked like nobody special, just another person trying to survive in a hard galaxy. But was not nobody, she was human, and in this part of space that meant something. 30 years ago, the Galactic Council had sent ships to explore a small blue planet called Earth. What they found there shocked them. The planet had crushing gravity that would break the bones of most species. The air was filled with a dangerous gas called oxygen. The weather changed without warning. Storms, floods, fires, and freezing cold came and went like breathing. And the animals there were nightmares made of teeth and claws and hunger. The Council named Earth a Class 7. They expected to find nothing alive there. Instead, they found humans. Soft-skinned, small, fragile-looking creatures who had not just survived on that horrible world but had conquered it. They had killed the great predators. They had tamed fire and water and metal. They had built cities and ships and weapons. The galaxy did not know what to do with humans. Some species feared them. Others hated them. Most simply looked down on them as dangerous animals who had somehow learned to talk. Had felt that look her whole life. She did not care anymore. She had only one thing on her mind: her brother. Was 23 years old, 5 years younger than. He had always been the gentle one in the family. He liked books and music and growing plants. He had no interest in fighting or weapons. 6 months ago, he had taken a job on a cargo ship to earn money for school. The ship never came home. Spent 4 months searching. She spent every credit she had. She called in every favor she was owed. Finally, she found the truth. Slavers had taken the ship. They had sold everyone on board to different buyers across the galaxy. Had been sold to a crime lord named. And was here on the station tonight. Followed the crowd toward a large building in the center of the station, the auction house. It was an ugly place where ugly things happened. Beings of all shapes and sizes filled the seats inside. They had come to buy stolen goods, rare animals, illegal weapons, and sometimes people. Found a spot in the back corner where she could see everything. She kept her hands still and her breathing slow. A human could hear heartbeats in a quiet room. Other species had learned to watch for signs of human anger. She gave them nothing to see. The auction went on for an hour. Ships, crystals, and strange machines crossed the stage, waited. Then the doors at the side of the stage opened, and guards brought out a line of people in chains. Humans. There were 8 of them. Men and women, young and old, all wearing the same gray clothes, all with the same empty look in their eyes, the look of people who had given up hope. Saw him immediately, third from the left, thin now, thinner than she remembered. His hair had grown long and messy, but it was him. Yes. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Her fingers wanted to curl into fists. She forced herself to stay still. Not yet. Not here. There were too many guards, too many eyes. If she moved now, they would both die. A voice came over the speakers, smooth and cold. Lot 47. 8 human specimens from a Class 7. Certified healthy. Excellent for labor, entertainment, or private collections. Bidding starts at 50,000 credits each. The crowd murmured with interest. Humans were rare in this sector. Rare meant valuable. A door opened in the upper level of the auction house. A private booth with tinted windows. Saw movement inside. She knew who was in there. Her contacts had told her everything about. He was a species known for their wealth and their pride. They had 4 arms, pale skin, and bones as light as paper. They came from a gentle world with low gravity and no predators. They had never known struggle or fear. They thought this made them better than everyone else. was worse than most of his kind. He collected rare species the way some people collected art. He kept them in cages. He made them fight for his entertainment. He broke them down until they forgot they had ever been free. The bidding ended. Bought all 8 humans for 300,000 credits. It was nothing to him. Pocket change. The guards led the humans away, walked with his head down, his shoulders bent. He did not look up. He did not see his sister watching from the shadows. Stayed in her seat until the auction ended and the crowd began to leave. Then she stood up and walked toward the stairs that led to the private booths. A guard stopped her. Private area, no access. Looked at him. He was big, some kind of reptile species with scales and small eyes. "I want to speak to," she said. "I have a business offer." The guard laughed. "Does not speak to insects. Tell him a human wants to buy something from him. He will be curious." The guard stopped laughing. He looked at her more carefully now, noticing the way she stood, the way she balanced her weight. His small eyes narrowed. "Wait here," he said. He spoke into a device on his wrist. A moment later, the door behind him opened. "He will see you," the guard said. He sounded surprised. Walked through the door and into the darkness beyond. The private booth smelled like perfume and old money. Soft lights glowed from hidden places in the walls. The floor was covered with thick carpet that swallowed the sound of footsteps. Everything here was designed to show power and wealth. Sat in the center of the room on a chair that looked more like a throne. He was tall, even while sitting, with pale gray skin and 4 long arms that ended in delicate fingers. His eyes were large and yellow, like a cat's eyes, and they watched with open amusement. 6 guards stood around the room. They were different species, all large, all armed. 2 advisors sat near his chair. One of them was a smaller named who held a tablet and kept checking it nervously. "So," said, his voice was soft and musical. The translator device made his words sound almost friendly. "A human. I have not had one walk into my presence before. Usually they come in chains." Stopped in the middle of the room. She kept her hands visible at her sides. "Thank you for seeing me," she said. Tilted his head. "You are polite. I did not expect that. Your species has a reputation for being simple, direct, like animals." "I am simple," said. "I want to buy my brother from you." Made a small sound of surprise. Raised one of his hands and the room went quiet. "Your brother?" asked. "One of the humans you just bought. His name is, he is young with long hair. He was 3rd from the left on the stage." Smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. His teeth were small and sharp like needles. "Ah, family loyalty, how touching." He leaned forward slightly. "And what do you offer in exchange for this?" Reached into her pocket. The guards tensed, but she moved slowly, showing them there was no threat. She pulled out a small chip and held it up. "Everything I have," she said. 200,000 credits, savings from 10 years of work. It is yours." Laughed. The sound was high and thin, like glass breaking. 200,000. He gestured at the room around him. "This carpet cost more than that. The lights in this room cost more than that." He looked at with pity in his yellow eyes. "You have no idea how small you are, do you?" "Then name your price," said. Her voice stayed calm. Looked at, what would a healthy human male sell for in the right market? Checked his tablet. "Approximately 1.5 million credits, sir. More if sold to a collector, less if sold for labor." Turned back to, "You see, your brother is worth more than you could earn in 100 lifetimes. What could you possibly offer me?" Said nothing for a moment, then she spoke. "I could work for you, pay off the debt." This made laugh even harder. His 4 arms shook with amusement. "Work for me? Doing what? You are a human. You are only good for 2 things, fighting and dying. And I already have plenty of creatures that can do both." He stood up from his chair. He was taller than had expected, almost 2 meters. He walked toward her slowly, his movements smooth and confident. The guards watched but did not move to stop him. "No," said, "I think I will keep your brother. He looks gentle, soft. I will break him slowly, teach him to serve. It is a hobby of mine, finding proud creatures and making them crawl." He stopped in front of. He was close enough that she could smell the perfume on his skin. "And you," he continued, "I think I will keep you too. A matched set, brother and sister from my guests will find that entertaining." Spoke up nervously. "Sir, humans are dangerous. Perhaps we should." "Dangerous?" cut him off. "Look at her. She is small, fragile. Her bones will snap like dry twigs." He reached out with one of his hands and flicked shoulder the way someone might flick away an insect. "Your species is famous for being scary, but I have seen your kind die from simple infections, from falls, from drinking the wrong water. You are not adapted for the galaxy. You are freaks from a broken world." Did not move. Her face showed nothing. Smiled wider. "Perhaps I will put you in my arena, let you fight some real predators. We can see how long a truly lasts against creatures that evolve to kill." "Is that your final answer?" asked. Her voice was quiet. Leaned closer. "What will you do, little creature? Cry, beg." He raised one hand and touched her chin, lifting her face so she had to look into his yellow eyes. "I want to see you beg. Get on your knees and beg for your brother's life. Entertain me, and maybe I will make his cage a little more comfortable." The room was silent. The guards watched, looked nervous. Looked into his eyes. For the first time since entering the room, something changed in her expression. It was small, just a tiny shift in the muscles around her eyes. Anyone who knew humans would have recognized that look. It was the look a human got right before violence. But did not know humans, not really. "I am giving you one more chance," said softly. "Let my brother go, take the money, walk away." Burst out laughing again. He turned to look at his guards, spreading his forearms wide. "Do you hear this? She thinks she can threaten me." He turned back to, still laughing. "What are you going to do? You have no weapons. You have no friends. You are alone in a room full of beings who could tear you apart." Looked at him for a long moment. "I tried," she said. "Remember that, I gave you a chance." Stopped laughing. Something in her voice made his smile fade just a little. "What?" he asked. "Moved." To the aliens in the room did not move like a person. She moved like water. She moved like lightning. One moment she was standing still. The next moment she was somewhere else and something terrible had happened. Her hand went to her back, to the space between her shoulder blades where her loose shirt hid a thin sheath. The blade inside that sheath was illegal in every civilized system. A monomolecular edge, so sharp that it could cut through metal like paper. So sharp that you did not feel it until you saw the blood. One movement, her arm came up, then down, then across. His hand fell to the floor. The hand that had touched her face. The hand that had flicked her shoulder. It lay on the expensive carpet, fingers still twitching, purple blood spreading out from the clean cut at the wrist. For one heartbeat, nobody moved, nobody breathed. Then screamed. It was a high sound, thin and broken, like nothing had ever heard before. They had no word for this kind of pain. Their world had never taught them what real violence felt like. Fell backward, clutching his arm, staring at the place where his hand used to be. His yellow eyes were wide with something he had never truly felt before, fear. The guards reached for their weapons. Was faster. She stepped forward and pressed the blade against throat. The edge was so sharp that just resting it against his skin opened a thin line of purple. She grabbed his collar with her other hand and held him up, forcing him to look at her. "Stop," she said. The guards froze. Their weapons were half-drawn, useless. If they fired, they would hit. If they moved, would die. They had been trained for many things, but not for this. Not for a human. The room was silent except for whimpering. He sounded like a child now, all his confidence gone, all his pride melted away by pain and terror. Spoke calmly. Her voice was not loud, but everyone heard every word. Your species evolved on a world with less than half of Earth's gravity, she said. Your bones are hollow like a bird's. Your muscles are thin. Your reflexes are tuned for a planet where nothing hunted you, where nothing challenged you. You developed intelligence because you had time to think, because nothing was trying to eat you. She pressed the blade a little harder. More purple appeared. My species evolved differently. On Earth, everything was trying to kill us. The weather, the animals, the plants, even the water. We learned to run before we learned to walk. We learned to fight before we learned to talk. We did not become smart because we had time. We became smart because it was the only way to survive. Made a small sound. It might have been a word, but his translator could not make sense of it. Every human you have ever mocked, continued. Every one of us you have called an animal or a freak. We carry 1,000,000 years of war inside our blood. Our ancestors killed predators with rocks. They ran for days without stopping. They healed from wounds that would kill your kind in minutes. We are not survivors. We are conquerors. She looked at the guards. They were still frozen, still watching. I am taking my brother, said. I am walking out of this room and I am walking out of this station. Anyone who tries to stop me will die. This is not a threat. This is information. I am telling you what will happen so that you can make a choice. Nobody moved. Looked down at, his face was gray now, going into shock. The blood loss was getting to him. His species did not handle trauma well. You will live, she told him. They can reattach hands now. You will be fine in a few weeks, but every time you look at that hand, I want you to remember something. She leaned closer. You asked me what I would do. You asked if I would beg. This is your answer. Humans do not beg. We do not surrender. We do not give up on the people we love. You can kill us, you can hurt us, you can lock us in chains, but you cannot break us, because we were forged in a place that breaks everything else. She let go of his collar, fell to the floor, gasping, clutching his wounded arm. Looked at, the small was shaking so hard that his tablet had fallen from his hands. Where are the humans being held? Asked. His mouth opened and closed several times before words came out. Level 7, holding cells, East Corridor. Thank you, said. She turned and walked toward the door. The guards stepped aside without being told. None of them looked at her directly. They looked at the floor, at the walls, at anything except the small human woman who had just crippled the most powerful being on the station. At the door, paused. One more thing, she said without turning around. If anyone follows me, I will come back. I will not come back for, I will come back for everyone in this room, every guard, every advisor, everyone who saw what happened here and decided to make it worse. She looked over her shoulder. Her eyes were calm, steady, empty of anger. This is also not a threat. It is information. Use it wisely. She walked out. Behind her lay on the floor, crying in a language that had no words for what he was feeling. Stood frozen, unable to move. The guards slowly lowered their weapons, looked at each other and made a silent agreement. Nobody followed. The holding cells were exactly where had said they would be. Level 7, East Corridor. Gray walls, gray floors, gray doors with small windows that showed empty eyes looking out. Moved quickly but carefully through the station. Word was spreading. She could tell by the way people moved out of her path, by the way conversations stopped when she walked by, by the way guards looked at their communicators, then at her, then away. Someone had talked. Someone always talked. She found the cell block guarded by 2 aliens she did not recognize. They were large, covered in thick brown fur, with flat faces and small ears. They saw her coming and raised their weapons. Stop there, one of them said. This area is restricted. Stopped, she held up her empty hands. I am here for the humans, she said. Open the cells. The guards looked at each other. The one on the right laughed nervously. You are the one everyone is talking about, the crazy human who attacked. Yes, said. He will send an army after you. You will never leave this station alive." "Maybe," said, "but you will die first. Is that what you want, to die for someone else's property?" The guards thought about this. They thought about what they had heard on their communicators. They thought about the stories they knew about humans, about the things that lived there. The guard on the left lowered his weapon. "We are not paid enough for this." "Smart choice," said. They opened the cells and walked away without looking back. Was in the third cell. He was sitting on a thin mattress with his back against the wall. His eyes were closed. He looked older than remembered, like the last 6 months had aged him 10 years. She said softly. His eyes opened. For a moment, he did not seem to understand what he was seeing. Then recognition flooded his face, followed by confusion, followed by something that might have been hope. His voice was rough from disuse. How are you here?" "I came to get you." She held out her hand. "Can you walk?" He took her hand and let her pull him up. He was unsteady on his feet, but he could move. That was enough. "The others," he said, looking at the other cells. "We cannot leave them." Had already opened the other doors. 7 humans came out, blinking in the light, not sure what was happening. An older woman with gray hair. A young man with scars on his arms. A teenage girl who could not stop shaking. "Follow me," told them. "Stay close. Do not run unless I tell you to run." They moved through the station like ghosts. The corridors that had been crowded before were empty now. People had heard what happened. People were hiding. Even the criminals and killers who lived on this station knew better than to get between a human and her family. But not everyone was afraid. They were 2 levels away from the docking bay when a group of armed beings blocked their path. 15 of them, maybe more, all carrying serious weapons. They wore the colors of organization. Leading them was a creature had never seen before. He was massive, almost 3 meters tall, with thick gray skin covered in old scars. His arms were as big around as his whole body. His face was flat and brutal, with small dark eyes that showed no fear at all. "Human," the creature said. His voice was like rocks grinding together. I am." Felt something cold move through her stomach. She knew that name. They came from a class 5, not as harsh as Earth, but close. They were one of the few species in the galaxy that did not fear humans. "I know what you are," said. "Let us pass." Did not move. His small eyes studied her for a long moment. "My grandmother met humans once," he said. "Long time ago, before I was born. First contact between our peoples." "Waited." "She said you were strange," continued. "Small, soft. You smiled too much. You apologized for things that were not your fault. She thought you were weak." "What changed her mind?" Made a sound that might have been a laugh. "She watched one of your kind kill a charging beast. You know what a beast is." Shook her head. 600 kilos, armored skull, tusks like swords, fastest thing on my planet. His face twisted into something like respect. The human killed it with a rock. Bare hands, just picked up a rock and threw it at the right spot. The beast was dead before it hit the ground. The humans behind were completely silent. They were barely breathing. "My grandmother told me something that day," said. "She said never to fight a human unless you are ready to die, because humans do not fight to win. They fight to end things." He looked at the armed beings behind him. They were waiting for his order. "I am not ready to die today," said. He stepped aside and gestured toward the corridor behind him. "Docking bay is through there. My ship is the ugly one with the cracked viewport. I will take you off this station." Did not lower her guard. "Why would you help us?" Shrugged his massive shoulders. I did work for, but is finished now. Everyone knows it. What you did up there, it will spread. His enemies will tear him apart. He has no power anymore." He looked at with something like curiosity. "And I want to see what happens next. I want to see what the galaxy does when it realizes that humans are not pets or animals or freaks. When it realizes what you really are." Walked past him. The other humans followed, still not quite believing what was happening. At the entrance to the docking bay, she stopped and looked back at. "Thank you," she said. Nodded, "Thank me by surviving. The galaxy is about to change. I want to be on the right side when it does." Walked onto his ship with her brother beside her and 7 strangers behind her. The door closed. The engine started. The crimson lattice grew smaller and smaller in the viewport until it was just another point of light among the stars. Sat next to his sister in the passenger hold. He had not said a word since they left the cells. Now, finally, he spoke. "What did you do?" he asked. "What happened up there?" Looked at him. She looked tired now. The energy that had carried her through the last hour was fading, leaving something heavy behind. "I did what I had to do," she said. Shook his head slowly. "I heard them talking, the guards. They said you cut off his hand. They said you moved so fast they could not see you." Did not deny it. "Who are you?" whispered. "Who did you become?" Took her brother's hand and held it tight. "I am your sister," she said. "That is all I have ever been. That is all I needed to be." 3 months passed. The galaxy changed slowly at first, then all at once. The footage from the crimson lattice spread like fire through dry grass. Security cameras had caught everything. The auction, the meeting in its booth, the moment when a small human woman moved faster than alien eyes could follow and crippled one of the most powerful crime lords in the sector. Every species in the galaxy saw that footage. They watched it again and again, slowing it down, trying to understand what they were seeing, trying to understand how a creature so small, so soft, so fragile-looking could do something so fast and so brutal. The stories that humans had told about themselves, the stories that aliens had dismissed as lies and exaggeration, suddenly seemed very real. Survived. The doctors reattached his hand, but something was broken inside him that they could not fix. His enemies smelled weakness, and they came for him like sharks smelling blood. His empire fell apart in weeks. His allies abandoned him. His enemies divided his territory among themselves. The last anyone heard, he was hiding on a small moon at the edge of nowhere, afraid to show his face. The Galactic Council held an emergency meeting. Representatives from 100 species gathered to discuss what they called the human situation. They argued for days. Some wanted to declare war on Earth. Some wanted to increase restrictions on human travel. Some wanted to pretend nothing had happened. Earth's ambassador was an old man named. He had white hair and kind eyes and a voice that never rose above a conversational tone. He sat through 3 days of arguments without saying a word. When they finally let him speak, he stood up slowly and looked around the room. "You classified our as unsurvivable," he said. "You called us monsters for living there. You said we were dangerous animals who had somehow learned to use tools. For 30 years, you have treated us like pests to be controlled, like threats to be contained." He paused. "And now you are angry, because one of us acted like the dangerous animal you always said we were." The room was silent. "You kidnapped our people," continued. "You sold them like property. You put them in cages and made them fight for entertainment. And when one woman came to rescue her brother, when she did exactly what any human would do in her situation, you call this an act of war." He shook his head slowly. "We are not asking for war. We have never asked for war. We are asking for respect. We are asking to be treated like the intelligent, feeling, sovereign beings that we are. Grant us that, and we will be the best allies the galaxy has ever known. We will share our technology, our medicine, our art. We will stand beside you against any threat." His kind eyes grew cold. "Deny us that, and you will learn what a species forged on is truly capable of. Not because we want to teach you, but because you will leave us no choice." The speech was broadcast across every network in the galaxy. Within days, it had been translated into 1,000 languages. Within weeks, attitudes began to shift. Not everywhere, not all at once, but the change had started. Humans were no longer just dangerous animals. They were something else, something that deserved attention, something that deserved caution, something that deserved respect. Did not see any of this. She had taken home to Earth's colony on 442b, a small world that humans had been terraforming for 2 decades. It had blue skies and green fields and air that smelled like rain. It was not Earth, but it was close enough. Needed time to heal. 6 months in chains had done things to him that medicine could not fix. He had nightmares. He flinched at loud sounds. Sometimes he would stop in the middle of a sentence and forget what he was saying, lost in memories he could not escape. Stayed with him. She took a job as a security consultant for the colony, but mostly she just made sure her brother was never alone. She cooked his meals. She sat with him when the nightmares came. She reminded him again and again that he was safe now, that no one would ever hurt him again. One night they sat on the porch of their small house and watched the sun set over the alien hills. The sky turned orange, then purple, then dark. Stars appeared, different from the stars they had grown up with, but beautiful in their own way. "Do you regret it?" asked quietly. It was the first time he had mentioned what happened on the station since they came home. "Regret what?" asked. "What you did, the violence, the fame." He looked at her. "Everyone knows your name now, they call you they tell stories about you." Was quiet for a moment. She looked up at the unfamiliar stars. "I would do it again," she said finally. 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, without hesitation. Nodded slowly. "I thought you would say that." "Does it bother you, what I am?" Took a long time to answer. When he did, his voice was steady for the first time in months. "When I was in that cell," he said, "I gave up. I stopped hopping. I told myself that no one was coming, that I would die there, that I should just accept it." He looked at his sister. "And then you came. You walked into a room full of enemies and you burned everything down to bring me home. How could I be bothered by that? How could anyone be bothered by that?" Felt something warm spread through her chest. She reached out and took her brother's hand. "He asked me what I would do," she said. "Right before I moved, he asked if I would beg." "What did you tell him?" "Nothing. There was nothing to tell. He did not understand then, and I am not sure he understands now." She squeezed her brother's hand. "That is what they get wrong, all of them. They think we are dangerous because we are strong, because we are fast, because we can survive things that would kill them." She shook her head. "But that is not it. That is not why we are dangerous. We are dangerous because we love, because when someone threatens the people we care about, something inside us turns off. Fear turns off. Pain turns off. Everything turns off except one thought: protect them, save them, destroy anything that stands in the way." She looked at her little brother, the gentle one who liked books and music and growing things. "There is nothing in the universe more terrifying than a human protecting someone they love," she said. "And there is nothing in the universe more beautiful." The stars wheeled overhead. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was changing, adjusting to a new reality, learning to see humans in a different way. But here on this small porch, on this small world, none of that mattered. What mattered was that they were together. What mattered was that they were home. What mattered was that love in the end had won.